Well, hello there again. We're going to try this again. Video number 2. Wow. Trying also a little something different here by using my screen capture software while also including the webcam shot of me down there in the lower left corner. Hi, y'all. That's me. Again, Jerry William Bowers Jr. here. This is kind of an idea I've had for a video for a while, but again, I've done everything I can to stay away from the camera. This one is, this video, it is at least a little representation that I am still learning, even though I'm 55. Video I did before this, went back looking at it, and it was kind of grainy. It looked, I don't know, like almost like there was a fog in the room. And I got this wild idea later, that I've had this webcam for over 10 years and I've never taken a bottle of Windex to the lens. Oh, wow, what a world of difference. Well, here we are. Aren't you lucky? What I want to talk about today is something I call 2-minute eschatology. Now, of course, eschatology, the Bible's end times. So guess what? It's figurative. You can do it quicker if you want. You can stretch it out even if that's your preference. But I want to get a little disclaimer out of the way for the people that are going to examine this and go, wait a minute, you can't do that. What I mean by 2-minute eschatology is I'm just going to show you a simple verse connection. Sometimes it could be 2 verses, 3 verses, 4 verses, whatever. Just a quick run through. Again, it's not supposed to be an exhaustive conclusion. It's not an exhaustive presentation. It's not an exhaustive defense. But I want to show you something here. I think this is important in the whole eschatology scheme. And the thing that I want to focus on for this particular video here is what I believe is the most oft repeated promise throughout the Bible, Old Testament and New Testament alike. And that is where God says, I will be their God and they will be my people. It is literally littered throughout Scripture. But trying to do a little homework for this, I found one thing in particular on a website that works pretty well to show. As you can see here, 43 Bible verses about I will be their God. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Ezekiel, Zechariah, 2 Corinthians, Hebrews, Jeremiah. Oh boy, look at all of them in Ezekiel and Jeremiah. And then we see it again in Revelation, Exodus back again, Leviticus. My goodness, look at this. Even in Psalms, we have it in Isaiah. Look at this. It's all over the Bible. In the book of Numbers, Hosea mentions this. Joel mentions this again back in Genesis. So it's not exactly like I'm grasping for straws here. Again, I do believe this is the most oft referenced promise in the Bible. How you like the desktop there? Well, because I'm going to be beginning with the verse in Revelation, and whenever you get into the book of Revelation, people imagine all kinds of weird scenarios. So we have the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. But here's where we're going to begin. Revelation chapter 21. I'm sure most of you are very familiar with this. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first earth was passed away and there was no more sea. So that's where we're at. What I want to focus on here is verse 3. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, Behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. He will dwell with them. They shall be his people. God himself will be their God, and will be their God. Now, of course, this is in the book of Revelation, so most of Christianity is believing this is referencing something that can't possibly be true already. It's not possible that this could have already happened because they've been raised, trained, learned, taught that all of this stuff is still in the future. But again, I want to show you something quick here, okay? It's only video number 2, so I'm figuring some things out. But where we want to go to from here is what I believe is the greatest single chapter on resurrection in the Old Testament, and that is Ezekiel chapter 37 with the Valley of Dry Bones. Now, obviously, I'm going to recommend that you go in here and read this entire chapter. So I'm not trying to trick you or fool you into believing something. I'm just trying to show you a simple connection. Now, remember Revelation 21:3. We had all 3 of those things. I will walk in them, dwell in them. I will be their God. They will be my people. When the sanctuary is set up, etc., etc. Now look here at the end of Ezekiel 37's Valley of Dry Bones. Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It shall be an everlasting covenant. That sound like the new covenant? Moreover, I will make a covenant of peace with them. It will be an everlasting covenant with them. I will place them and multiply them, and will set my sanctuary in the midst of them evermore. My tabernacle shall also be with them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. Again, exactly what we read in Revelation 21:3. Here in Ezekiel 37, it is speaking about a prophecy of at some future point that this would be a reality. And again, since we're pointing to this, I refer you back to that, what I showed you on the website. And again, this is a word study I would recommend you go in and study for yourself. Go in and look at all of these references where I will be their God and they will be my people. But for the connection that I want to go to next, it's in 2 Corinthians chapter 6 and verse 16, where Paul is telling the Corinthians, and what agreement has the temple of God with idols? Remember the temple of God? Remember Revelation 21:3 mentions it. Remember Ezekiel 37 mentions it. The temple, the sanctuary, the tabernacle. And what agreement has the temple of God with idols? For you are the temple of the living God. As God has said. Where did God say it? Again, it's all over the Old Testament. I will be their God. They will be my people. And we specifically nail it to Ezekiel 37, the single greatest chapter on resurrection. And Paul is telling people in the first century, what agreement has the temple of God with idols? For you are the temple of the living God. As God said, I will dwell in them and walk in them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. Paul is telling people 2,000 years ago this was already a reality. Why can't people embrace it today? Because of tradition. That's why. Because of what your parents taught, or maybe their parents taught them, or maybe it's what you've learned from your pastor, or your family's pastor. Maybe there you've got different Bibles from relatives many generations back where they've all gone to church and learned this stuff is still in the future. How can it still be in the future when here's Paul? He wrote most of the New Testament. Here's Paul telling you this was already a reality. So go back in, read Ezekiel 37 from beginning to end. Again, single greatest chapter in the Bible on resurrection. Definitely single greatest chapter in the Old Testament. Go through and read it. Read it through several times. Figure it out. Because what you have going on in there, these are the bones of the entire house of Israel. Well, in order for that to be literal, you'd have to reach a point in history where every Israelite is dead. We don't know of any scriptures that talk about that. So there's something else going on there. As the chapter unfolds and develops, you see this is talking about taking the 2 sticks, one representing the northern kingdom, the 10 tribes, and the other representing the southern kingdom, Judah and Benjamin. Then being bound back together again. One in my hand, God says. And that is where the story is supposed to find its intention and its purpose and its meaning. Because we see this story, and that's the way it is given here in Ezekiel 37. It's given as an allegory. Go through and read it. So what is the allegory pointing to? Again, as I pointed out in my first video, Adam is the individual. Egypt is the collective. And together they're us, they're we, they are mankind. So again, look at these. Don't just take this and run with it and go out and try to convince people of fulfilled eschatology. But take this in here and study it. Do a word study on that in the Old Testament. Like I said, that one website, again, I'll put this back up here. You guys can take another peek at it. It's on bible.knowingjesus.com. And again, just here, you see it references 43 different times. And the 3 that I mentioned are in there. You have to go in here and you have to take everything, of course, into context together. But if you put these 3 sections of Scripture together, there's no argument. There's no argument. Now again, this is not supposed to be an exhaustive introduction, an exhaustive defense, but you look at those 3 together, once you have a better grasp of what's going on in all 3 of those chapters, and you're going to see something you probably never saw before, if you happen to be somebody who still believes all this stuff is yet to happen. So there you go. Again, it is figurative, but that's 2-minute eschatology. You throw those 3 together and you put them on the table. It's like somebody dealing you 4 aces. You got it. Till next time, God bless. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit that little bell. Ding. God love you.